At that point, I kind of went back to contemplate this number 10 and hit on the idea that we would invite up here on stage a semiotician, a man who studies signs, who could then parse for us the various meanings of the word and symbol 10. Marcel Danesi. How are you?
I'm delighted to be here. I'm honored. Thank you for inviting me, Moses. I'm a semiotician. I teach at this very university and in this very room. Don't ask me what semiotics is. I'm not sure what it is myself. So, my assignment is to kick off Ideacity with a brief commentary on a movie short you're about to see. It's called Powers of 10. Actually, I'm not so much concerned with the content of the movie as with the symbolism of the number 10, which for the present purposes is the mother of all symbols. First, it should not go unnoticed that we have 10 fingers. In fact, the hand is the original digital computer, and we still use it to compute. Actually, to an Italian like myself, it's a computer, a radio, a television set, a few others. Now, symbolism, you might ask, what's so symbolic about 10? Well, let me start by saying that it is the 10th anniversary of Ideacity, and 10 years seem to consistently mark something significant. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of doing a particular job, doing anything for that length of time is perceived to be meaningful, and we celebrate it as such. I have 10 minutes to compress everything I'm supposed to say into something meaningful. Not 9, not 11, 10. Rather appropriate, by the way, for the age of information in which we live, don't you think? An age of digital compression and communication. Fortunately, I don't have 10 letters in my name, or God knows what I can get out of that kind of mysticism. I have 12 letters, and that means, no, that's for another story. The movie is a blend of science and philosophy. A blend printed into the symbolism of the number 10. It shows us the macrocosmos and the microcosmos through magnification, marked on the side by the respective powers of 10, not 9, not 11. This blending of domains was the rule in the ancient world, not the exception, where physics and metaphysics, or logos and mythos, as the Greeks called it, merged to produce knowledge and understanding. It is not coincidental in my mind that the ancient mystics, later coming to be known as Kabbalists, claimed that there were 10 levels of reality. And the work in quantum physics has done nothing if not show that there are 10 dimensions to the universe. Not 9, not 11. But surely you might ask, there is a difference between science and mysticism? Well, maybe. Let me say that, first of all, scientific symbols are really strategies for compressing information. Consider the concept of power in mathematics, which is what the movie is really kind of about. Can I have that first slide? If I were to ask you to multiply 3 by itself, there's something symbolic going on here, so hold on, there you go. You see it? 3 multiplied by itself 15 times. If you look at it, it presents a rather unwieldy problem. So mathematicians, being lazy about doing computational tasks, around the era of the Renaissance, early Renaissance, decided to introduce a symbolic notation known as the power, or the exponent. So they recast that same problem into that notation below. It has the same information. And however, it is much easier to understand and utilize. End of matter. Or is it? Now, the history of mathematics is actually characterized by notational creations such as this one that have serendipitously led to mathematical discoveries. In fact, this very notation led to the discovery that any number to the power of 0 is equal to 1. This would never have been discovered as a property of 0 had we not had that notation. This same notation also opened up many new, much more understanding of the laws of arithmetic and a new branch of arithmetic, logarithms. Let me not digress too far. I have only 10 to the 0.64 minutes left to talk. Now, let's consider the title of the movie in its 3 possible versions. The first one is what it's actually titled, The Powers of 10 in words. The second one is using the digital notation. And the last one, The Powers of 10 in Roman numerals. Now, all 3 present the same information, but what varies is the meaning, especially of the last one. Now, it's unlikely that, well, I don't know, but the Romans probably consider that simply having numerical information. But our minds do not. Let me quote Victor Hugo on that very form, 2 lines crossing like that. Let me quote. Victor Hugo said, "X is crossed swords, a battle. Who will win, we do not know. So the mystics made it the sign of destiny, and the algebraists the sign of the unknown." It is an enormous carrier of information. I found over 300 meanings of X in the English language. It is, and how do you pronounce X, by the way? It is not a phonetic symbol. Let me give you a few of them. Brands, companies, Xbox, Xerox. TV programs, X-Files, X-Factor. Contemporary artists, musicians, X-Punk, is it Xizibit, DMX. Fictional characters, Agent XXX, Xena, X-Men. Automobile models, X-Trail, X-Drive, Xterra. Social categories, Generation X, Extreme Sports, a mysterious thing or person, Madam X, a mistake, an unknown quantity, Roman numeral 10, unknown factor in science, X-rays, the female chromosome, X chromosome, location on a map, a motion picture rating indicating erotic contact, Christ and Christianity, a kiss, Chronos, the god of time. You get the point? X is everywhere, and we're not even aware that it's there. Actually, I could go on for 10 to the 23rd minutes more, but I only have 10 to the 0 minutes left. Stand the X up, and you get the cross. Rotate it back, and you get the X, mystery, and the little bit dangerous. In other words, it stands at the same time for both the sacred and the profane, science and mysticism, mythos and logos in tandem. I conclude, because you're going to see the movie, by saying that ideacity is not a power of 10. It is a power of, correctly, X on its 10th anniversary. It is an event packed like symbols with ideas, scientific and mystical. My commentary on the film clip and my commentary on the symbol is really just a low power of 10, taking us just above the surface of the city. The other speakers will take you farther and farther in different directions. And I will stop now because I had my 15 minutes of fame. No, sorry, 10 minutes of fame. And I end with the appropriate words of Scottish essayist Thomas Carlyle, who points out how much we all are the symbolic animal, as the 20th century philosopher Ernst Cassirer characterized us. Let me quote Thomas Carlyle. What happened to the lights? We got the movie. Thank you very much.
The picnic near the lakeside in Chicago was the start of a lazy afternoon, early one October. We begin with a scene 1 meter wide, which we view from just 1 meter away. Now, every 10 seconds, we will look from 10 times farther away, and our field of view will be 10 times wider. This square is 10 meters wide, and in 10 seconds, the next square will be 10 times as wide. Our picture will center on the picnickers, even after they've been lost to sight. 100 meters wide, the distance a man can run in 10 seconds. Cars crowd the highway. Power boats lie at their docks. The colorful bleachers are Soldiers Field. This square is a kilometer wide, 1,000 meters. The distance a racing car can travel in 10 seconds. We see the great city on the lake shore. 10 to the 4th meters, 10 kilometers. The distance a supersonic airplane can travel in 10 seconds. We see first the rounded end of Lake Michigan, then the whole Great Lake. 10 to the 5th meters, the distance an orbiting satellite covers in 10 seconds. Long parades of clouds, the day's weather in the Middle West. 10 to the 6th, a 1 with 6 zeros, 1,000,000 meters. Soon the Earth will show as a solid sphere. We are able to see the whole Earth now, just over a minute along the journey. The Earth diminishes into the distance, but those background stars are so much farther away that they do not yet appear to move. A line extends at the true speed of light. In 1 second, it half crosses the tilted orbit of the moon. Now we mark a small part of the path in which the Earth moves about the sun. Now the orbital paths of the neighbor planets, Venus and Mars, then Mercury. Entering our field of view is the glowing center of our solar system, the sun, followed by the massive outer planets, swinging wide in their big orbits. That odd orbit belongs to Pluto. A fringe of a myriad comets too faint to see completes the solar system. Ten to the 14th. As the solar system shrinks to one bright point in the distance, our sun is plainly now only one among the stars. Looking back from here, we note 4 southern constellations, still much as they appear from the far side of the Earth. This square is 10 to the 16th meters, 1 light year, not yet out to the next star. Our last 10-second step took us 10 light years further. The next will be 100. Our perspective changes so much in each step now that even the background stars will appear to converge. At last, we pass the bright star Arcturus and some stars of the Dipper. Normal but quite unfamiliar stars and clouds of gas surround us as we traverse the Milky Way galaxy. Giant steps carry us into the outskirts of the galaxy. And as we pull away, we begin to see the great flat spiral facing us. The time and path we chose to leave Chicago has brought us out of the galaxy along a course nearly perpendicular to its disk. The 2 little satellite galaxies of our own are the clouds of Magellan. 10 to the 22nd power, 1,000,000 light years. Groups of galaxies bring a new level of structure to the scene. Glowing points are no longer single stars, but whole galaxies of stars seen as one. We pass the big Virgo cluster of galaxies among many others, 100 million light years out. As we approach the limit of our vision, we pause to start back home. This lonely scene, the galaxies like dust, is what most of space looks like. This emptiness is normal. The richness of our own neighborhood is the exception. The trip back to the picnic on the lakefront will be a sped-up version, reducing the distance to the Earth's surface by 1 power of 10 every 2 seconds. In each 2 seconds, we'll appear to cover 90% of the remaining distance back to Earth. Notice the alternation between great activity and relative inactivity, a rhythm that will continue all the way into our next goal, a proton in the nucleus of a carbon atom beneath the skin on the hand of the sleeping man at the picnic. Ten to the 9th meters, 10 to the 8th, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are back at our starting point. We slow up at 1 meter, 10 to the 0 power. Now we reduce the distance to our final destination by 90% every 10 seconds, each step much smaller than the one before. At 10 to the minus 2, 1/100th of a meter, 1 centimeter, we approach the surface of the hand. In a few seconds, we'll be entering the skin, crossing layer after layer from the outermost dead cells into a tiny blood vessel within. Skin layers vanish in turn. An outer layer of cells, felty collagen. The capillary containing red blood cells and a roughly lymphocyte. We enter the white cell. Among its vital organelles, the porous wall of the cell nucleus appears. The nucleus within holds the heredity of the man in the coiled coils of DNA. As we close in, we come to the double helix itself, a molecule like a long twisted ladder whose rungs of paired bases spell out twice, in an alphabet of 4 letters, the words of the powerful genetic message. At the atomic scale, the interplay of form and motion becomes more visible. We focus on one commonplace group of 3 hydrogen atoms bonded by electrical forces to a carbon atom. 4 electrons make up the outer shell of the carbon itself. They appear in quantum motion as a swarm of shimmering points. At 10 to the minus 10 meters, 1 angstrom, we find ourselves right among those outer electrons. Now we come upon the 2 inner electrons held in a tighter swarm. As we draw toward the atom's attracting center, we enter upon a vast inner space. At last, the carbon nucleus, so massive and so small. This carbon nucleus is made up of 6 protons and 6 neutrons. We are in the domain of universal modules. There are protons and neutrons in every nucleus, electrons in every atom, atoms bonded into every molecule out to the farthest galaxy. As a single proton fills our scene, we reach the edge of present understanding. Are these some quarks at intense interaction? Our journey has taken us through 40 powers of 10. If now the field is 1 unit, then when we saw many clusters of galaxies together, it was 10 to the 40th, or 1 and 40 zeros.
How many of you are familiar with that little film? I thought some of you might be. I've spoken, for those of you who are regulars, and many of you are in the past, about the curious nature of my education, heavy on the humanities and the arts and Bible studies and the tragic history of my people, but very light on science and business. And this film, when I first saw it, was such a revelation that it motivated me, and it motivates me still, to pursue astronomy and cosmology and try and get my head around the immensity of the whole damn thing. So I thought it'd be nice to show it to you. This was done in the 1950s by Ray and Charles Ames. They're perhaps better known to you as designers, the famous Ames chair, piece of furniture, but this film is extremely striking. I thought it was striking then. I think it's striking still.